So let's talk about the waterfall. The waterfall is a rather soft flourish. It's something that doesn't really require a lot of pressure on the cards. It's something that's really like soft to the touch. As long as you really understand like how pressure reacts on the cards, then you should be good to go, right? So it doesn't really require that much pressure. But sometimes it's really called the cascade or the bridge, or the cascade and the bridge are called the waterfall. It's really bizarre. So just so that we're on the same page, I'm gonna like make some clear terminology. So waterfall is the flourish that allows you to drop cards from one hand to another. Cascade is the one that you pharaoh the cards and then you do a sort of like drop motion, and then the bridge is the thing that you do after a riffle shuffle, right? But yeah, so the waterfall can be done with basically any deck. That's the thing that I really like about it. It doesn't really matter how clumpy it is or how the cards are like the thickness or the how stiff they are, right? Whereas the spring, you do sort of need to take into account how soft the cards are. The dribble, you do need to take into account how like how much the cards stick with one another, right? The waterfall, you don't really need to do any of that. So yeah, but this is actually the second time that I'm filming this tutorial. This isn't really like the first time that I filmed it, it wasn't really in on par with what I currently create, so you know, that's that. But yeah, so the reason why I'm creating this is that there was never really a dedicated tutorial for airing the deck. Airing the deck was always like a ends to a means to the waterfall. Here I'm treating the waterfall as more of a companion piece to airing the deck, right? So airing the deck is the main focus here, basically. But as with all things, I do like to start off with a bit of history, right? So Waterfall actually predates airing the deck, as far as I know. The very first publication of airing the deck was in Nelson T. Downs' The Art of Magic, which was published in 1909 under the name of Spring the Card's Second Method. So that was like a really weird thing, because spring the cards, you never think that the waterfall is part of it. But yeah, so the method for that was actually just like releasing pressure and letting cards fall down one by one. And obviously you don't really get like a consistent like drop that way. So that was really weird, but you know, it is what it is, right? Old magic books are like that sometimes, right? But yeah, the first publication of a waterfall that I know of with a airing action is in the Tarbell Course in Magic, which was published in 1927. Well, it was finished publishing it during that era, right? But it was in volume 2, and obviously it's by Harlan Tarbell. I don't remember what it's called. I think it was called something like Ribbon Drop Down or something along those lines, right? But yeah, so that was the first publication that I know of with a airing action. In Magic, the airing action is used not really for the Waterfall Flourish. The first publication of an airing action that I know of is in a routine called The Back of Benson's Hand by Roy Benson. He published that in the New Phoenix issue 321 back in 1954, and in that he credited airing the deck with Martin Gardner, right? Can I really confirm that it comes from Martin Gardner? I don't know, right? I mean, Magic crediting is, again, it's very hard to pinpoint. It's yeah, you can never tell when something is miscredited or, you know, someone came up with it independently. But, you know, seeing how the ages of the waterfall and airing the deck, it's possible, but would I say with 100% certainty that Martin Gardner came up with airing the deck? Not really. Maybe he came up with the name, but no, I don't really know, right? But with that out of the way, let's get into airing the deck. Airing the deck is something that, yeah, you should know for the sake of, Magic and doing the Waterfall Flourish. But airing the deck is essentially just bending the cards so that there's a bit of space and airing between each and every one of the cards, right? Now, the way that you actually hold the deck is sort of reminiscent of a spring, like the spring that I taught you guys, the very old one. So you're basically going to contact the front edge of the deck with your index, middle, ring, and pinky finger, and your thumb is going to contact the back edge of the deck, right? Like so. Now it doesn't really matter how deep deck is in your hand. Personally, when I do a Waterfall Flourish, I want to have a deeper grip, but you know, for a maybe like a magic application, I might want to do it near the fingertips because there's more space in between of the deck and the palm of my hand. So it really depends on the circumstances. I'm more going to gear this towards the waterfall, so you know, that's something they should take into account when you're learning a slight variation of airing the deck, right? But with that said, let's talk about the pressure and how you should handle it for airing the deck, right? So now the biggest mistake that I see with airing the deck, or that something that I had with airing the deck, is that you apply pressure parallel with the deck, right? With your fingers parallel with one another, right? And that is a big problem because you can't really air the deck that way. If you try and bend the cards that way, you're basically just going to bend the entire deck, and that's not really ideal, right? What you're looking for is actually sort of like a Pac-Man grip, right? Sort of like this. And what this allows you to do is that it actually allows you to apply pressure sort of like diagonally like this, sort of like that, sort of like a weird crocodile jaw. But this is really great because now if you approach the deck like that, look at what happens. You can actually bend the cards one after another, and then they all like basically guitar string upwards like so. Right? And this can't happen if you're doing this, right? If your fingers are parallel with one another, because yeah, again, it just bends the deck. So you really do need to take into account this little grip, right? This little sock puppet grip, right? This, right? So again, like so. And what's good about like a deeper grip with the Waterfall Flourish is that you don't really need to stop at any like given point. Yeah, the cards just basically fill into the palm of your hand, right? Into the crotch of your thumb. So then you don't really need a stopping point, unlike if you did it at the fingertips. You need to like stop at a certain point or else you're going to bend the cards again, right? But you know, that's just a whatever issue. Also, I'm using 4 knees because, you know, I'm trying to prove a point that, you know, I'm using like sort of clumpy cards or cards that don't flow really well, and I'm still able to do the waterfall with it. So yeah, but yeah, back to airing the deck. It's basically nothing really that difficult. You just need to understand how pressure reacts with the deck. So again, you just use a little Pac-Man grip like so. And this will allow you to guitar string the deck and fill in air and space in between each and every single card like so. Now for the waterfall, it's very simple. It's nothing really that difficult, but let's talk about the catch in hand first. The catching hand is not really that important, but it is very similar to spring where, yeah, you basically want a straddle grip, but expand it. So again, if you don't know what the straddle grip is, it's basically your thumb is on to the side, your index is on the front edge, your pinky is on the back edge, and your middle and ring finger are on the side of the deck, right? So once you remove the deck, you have this, but for the waterfall you want to expand it again, so then you have this nice little cradle, right? For the waterfall, you know, you can start off for the catching hand, when the cards first fall down one after another, you sort of want your hand to be cocked off to the side, right? And this is sort of important for magic, but not so much for flourishing. But again, you're sort of like twisting the deck off to the side. So again, you're starting off to the side, right? But as the waterfall progresses, you're going to twist your hand upwards. So then it's going to go back in sort of a dealer's grip. So you're starting off and then it's going to do this, right? You can obviously just let this stay like sort of like perpendicular with the ground, but personally I sort of like twisting it, like sort of twisting it, right? Because why not, right? Sort of, maybe it's a habit of magic, but you know, you can do it both ways. You can let your hand be perpendicular with the ground, or sort of 45 degrees with the ground for the rest of the flourish, or you know, slowly twist it parallel with the ground. It doesn't really matter, but again, it's depending on the circumstances on whether it's a flourish or whether it's a magic sleight. Now, now that we got the catching hand out of the way, we can go with the mechanics. So generally, you just need to know how to air the deck to do the Waterfall Flourish. There's really nothing much to it. So once you got airing the deck down, you just need to do one thing, and that is slowly release pressure. And look at what happens when I slowly release pressure with the fingertips, right? If I slowly release pressure, the cards will gradually fall out of my hand, right? Like so. And that's basically it for the Waterfall Flourish, right? The only thing that you really need to practice is consistency. So once you got down knowing how to release pressure and knowing how much pressure is required so that the cards fall down consistently, then you basically got everything down, right? You just need to, I mean, all that the Waterfall Flourish is airing the deck and releasing pressure, right? So you just need to know how to air the deck, release pressure so that it drops down smoothly, right? I'm twisting my wrist really painfully right now, so I might not be able to do the waterfall perfectly, but yeah, like so, right? Nothing too difficult. Now, if you want to increase the distance for a waterfall, it's really quite simple. You just need to move your right hand upwards and also your left hand downwards at sort of a consistent rate. Because if you manage to do that, well, you can increase the distance basically twicefold, right? Like so. I can't really catch it on camera, but you can see it from my performance. And so yeah, you just need to know, you just need to practice a bit, knowing how to, again, with this, like with the spring and the dribble, practice consistency before you practice distance. Because you aim for distance, you'll never really get it. So obviously practice consistency, practice, you know, short little distances like that, right? You don't need to always aim for heights too much, right? You always aim for consistency before you obviously try to go higher. So yeah. So let's talk about further reading. Further reading into what you can do with the Flourish as for Magic, right? So for Magic, you can do, you can go and look ahead. You can go and look into Best of Friends Volume 2 by Harry Lorraine, who unfortunately just recently passed away. So, you know, you can go ahead and buy his material. If an Octopus Could Palm by Dan and Dave, Pure Imagination by Scott Robinson, Johan Fontaine's Patreon, he teaches the Cascade control over there, which is basically a waterfall control, but again, Magic, they named it a Cascade before they named the waterfall. So, I mean, but the Cascade control is using the waterfall. That's what I'm getting at. Shane Cobalt's Patreon, he again teaches the Cascade control, which was by Charlie Miller. And obviously, there's a good friend of mine called Biz. Biz is a Romanian magician. He has a Patreon. There he teaches the waterfall pass, so it is different from a Cascade control. Right, and then we also have The Magic of Stephen Hamilton by Douglas Cameron, so that's another option that you can look at. But yeah, that's about it for the waterfall. Hope you enjoyed it. Again, it's just a very soft flourish. You shouldn't have that many issues with it. It's very simple, so yeah. But there are a couple of variations that you can do for flourishing that I didn't really go over, mainly because I can't do them. But there's the Frozen Waterfall by, I believe it's Edgar Isaac. Basically this, yeah, he is a, maybe Louis Milcock. No, it's Edgar Isaac, right? He has this frozen waterfall where he pins it against the side of his body. I'll probably put in the performance, but yeah, that is something that you can do. There's also a one-handed waterfall where you do the waterfall and you catch it with the same hand. I can't really do that, so I'm not going to show it, but Michael Stern does it really consistently, so you can go ahead and look at that. But besides that, yeah, that's about it for this airing the deck and waterfall tutorial. yeah, also, if you're interested in more Magic applications, you can look at the inflated deck. That's something that you can use airing the deck for. So yeah, but yeah, so I don't have a way to end videos anymore. So you know, that's it. Yeah, see you guys next time, I guess.